Mirror, mirror on the wall, show me what I want to see. Tell me what I want to hear. I was gripped with a vague feeling of unrest. It felt like everything around me was starting to change. But it was a gradual change, like a clean house slowly filling with trash. Discomfort, quietly piling up like dust. And it all started when she showed up.
Okay. Sorry. Just from that little bit, a new theory has popped into my mind, and I feel like I need to say it now before I forget it. After the, rotting of the apple pie last episode, I was starting to think that maybe there's some kind of time bubble around the mansion and the lake, and that's why Snow White stays in there. And although Mom went out into the market, so maybe that's not entirely true, but I was wondering if, like, the food that was taken from the house was fine when we left, but then rotted by the time we got home. Now with Snow's description at the beginning, I'm like, is he in, a glass coffin, so to speak, already? Dead for all intents and purposes. And Eureka's waking him up, potentially? I'm not sure. But I'm wondering if he's already in the glass coffin. Anyway, just a theory. We'll see if that comes to be of anything. Probably not, but it's just a theory.
I opened the living room door to find my mother happily cleaning. You look like you're having fun. She looked over her shoulder at me with a smile. But I already knew what had put her in this good mood. Of course I am! That was the first time we've had a guest over in quite a while. Indeed, it was rare for us to get any visitors. Not only was our house located in the woods, but the house itself was so empty, people probably didn't realize anyone lived here. But most of all, no one ever interacted with my mother except to try and hurt her. As far as I knew, she had no friends she could trust.
Why is that?
So when I found out she brought someone home with her, I was stunned. Doubly so when I realized who that someone was. Red flags went off in my mind, warning me not to get involved with her. But it was too late now. She was so pretty, wasn't she? Thick, soft hair, and those sparkly gemstone eyes, almost like a princess from a picture book. Mother couldn't stop gushing about her. Granted, I knew her appearance was exactly the sort of thing Mother liked. Born to a family who had spent generations managing an inn, she was raised strictly. Books were her only source of entertainment. Like so many other girls her age, she read dozens of fairy tales and yearned to be a princess. Frills, lace, and ribbons. A big castle, a pretty dress, a happy marriage. That was her dream. And her name is Eureka Arisu. Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't it sort of feel like fate? Yeah. Mother loved the name Alice. It was the name of her favorite fairy tale protagonist.
Really? Interesting.
So of course she would take a liking to Arisu, the Japanese equivalent. I wish you could have eaten with us instead of hiding in your room. Now, I bet you're hungry, aren't you? I'll make you something, so sit tight. I don't eat any food today. I'm not hungry. But I was lying. Truth be told, I'd been hungry for a long time now. I just couldn't eat. Why? because everything in this world was poison to me.
Is my cooking really that bad?
No, that's not it. I shook my head. She frowned sadly.
Then why?
Why? I couldn't stand that word. Every time I heard it, it meant I'd failed her yet again. After a long silence, she looked at the clock.
Oh dear, look at the time! It's late, I gotta get to work.
She stopped cleaning and pulled me into a hug. Then, with a soft smile, she repeated her mantra.
I have to leave the house now, but I want you to stay here like a good boy. Now listen here. You're not like all the other kids. You're a precious angel. That's why you mustn't play outside. The world is filled with wicked wolves, and you can never trust them. So if one of them talks to you, be sure to ignore them. You have to watch the house while I'm gone, understand? And if anyone knocks on the door, don't let them in no matter what.
Yes, Mother.
Good. I'll be back later.
Take care, Mother.
So she says the same thing every time she leaves. I exhaled against my chilly fingers. The white fog rose up against the dark sky, vanishing from sight. So much had happened today. I was exhausted, both physically and mentally, but that wasn't going to stop me from coming here. After all, this was my only chance to see my beloved. I could feel someone's presence behind me. There was no need to turn and look. I knew who it was. Good evening, my prince. At long last, my handsome prince was here. Silently, he sat down next to me. Perhaps His Highness was in a bad mood. Okay, now what? Honestly, there was so much I wanted to ask him, but this heavy, oppressive silence wasn't very encouraging. Oh, I know! In times like these... Red! I turned to Red Riding Hood for help, but he looked at me in horror and shook his head. Come on, Red! Honestly, I should have expected this, since Red said he wasn't comfortable around my prince. At this point, I would just have to figure something out myself. Poor Red. You don't have a secret evil twin or anything, do you? First, I decided to find out if the Snow White I met this afternoon was indeed the same Snow White I knew. I didn't actually think he had a twin, but I was open to the possibility that I was wrong.
No, I don't.
So much for my twin theory.
And I don't have a doppelganger either. Nor do I have a stunt double.
He beat me to the punch.
I promise. That was me you spoke to back there.
What a crazy coincidence! I never imagined I'd get to see you during the daytime. And your mom is so cool! She's really pretty and a total sweetheart. And she's so funny, too! I did my best to keep my tone lighthearted.
Yeah.
He narrowed his eyes for a moment before looking away. I admired his handsome face and profile, then quietly asked, Are you mad that I came over?
Yeah.
His response pierced my heart. I slumped my shoulders.
I'm just kidding.
He was kidding?
It's not your fault. You had no way of knowing.
I looked up and found him smiling faintly at me. How would you describe his smile? Yeah, not bashful. Ha ha ha. Seven Dwarves reference. Definitely more self-deprecating. But his smile seemed self-deprecating somehow. I'm guessing you didn't want me to find out where you lived, huh? The smile faded from his face, and I knew I had guessed correctly. Well, don't worry. I won't tell your mom about our late-night hangouts, I promise. I figured that was what he was worried about. and if so, I was willing to reassure him.
I'm not worried about that. I know you're not that kind of person.
Then why are you mad at me?
I'm not.
Liar.
I'm not lying!
This was possibly the first time he had ever raised his voice at me.
Oh. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll just go home now.
He rose to his feet and turned away. Wait! I tried to stop him, but he never looked back. Why was your mom's apple pie rotten, sir? On our way home, I let out a giant sigh, expelling all the tension from my body.
You've had a long day today.
So have you. I'm sorry I keep dragging you out here every night.
Oh, no. I don't really mind it, but...
There was a pregnant pause.
Are you planning to come back tomorrow night as well?
Of course I am, I answered confidently. At this, Red stopped short. Why are you looking at me like that?
I just can't understand what that boy is thinking.
You and me both. I grinned stiffly. If I could read his mind, I wouldn't be struggling so much right now.
How can you have feelings for him when you don't understand him?
I like the mystery of it all.
I must say, you are frustratingly optimistic.
Where have I heard that before? He let out a sigh. Yeah, I know. But life's more fun that way. I shot him a wink.
The way he snubbed you just now. I'm afraid I do not like him.
Evidently, my prince had offended Red's sensibilities. He's a real tough customer, I know. He's cold, aloof, and impossible to read. I knew Red cared for me, and I wanted to take his feelings into consideration.
He's fickle, he's caustic, and he's willing to hurt people without a shred of hesitation.
Well, he's not totally cold-hearted. This time, I stood up for Snow White.
You're sure of that?
Yep! If I had to guess, I'd say he comes off as cold because he's so calm and rational.
You think he's rational?
Yeah. I think he probably controls his emotions very carefully. Sort of like Kaguya, maybe?
You make a good point. It's difficult to get a read on Kaguya since he's perpetually smiling.
Right? No one can live their life truly devoid of emotion, but at the same time, things won't go well if your emotions are calling all the shots. I figure rational people understand this. They just have the self-discipline to make sure they don't have any wild outbursts.
You've been paying close attention, it seems.
Well, duh. I'm crazy about him.
I cannot pretend to understand it myself. But if that's how you feel, then perhaps you're right.
Then something occurred to me. Oh!
What is it?
You know, come to think of it, you never use any slang, huh?
What of it?
I've heard my prince say cool and dude and stuff like that.
Isn't that fairly common for someone our age?
He tilted his head at me in confusion. Yeah, I know, but at first glance, he really doesn't seem like the type to say that stuff, you know? He looks so prim and proper. One would think he'd talk more like you, all formal and stuff.
Now that I think about it, you do have a point.
So why do you talk all formally anyway?
I don't know what to tell you. This is just how I talk.
I guess it just comes naturally? For the most part, each person is in control of their speech patterns. Some people curse, some people use slang, while some people avoid both. These choices are an expression of who we are, but some words carry a certain nuance to them. For example, No one would bat an eye if a girl said totes adorbs, but if a guy were to say it, he'd probably get some weird looks. In other words, there are some societal restrictions on the way we express ourselves, although it can vary wildly on a case-by-case basis. Plus, there's a gendered element to it. The more I thought about it, the more it felt like my prince's use of slang was a conscious choice to emphasize his masculinity. I thought about how mad he got when I called him adorable, and the way he seemed to hate his own appearance. Oh. Maybe he just really doesn't like being misgendered? I like that she's only getting that now. I mean, to be fair, we had a little snapshot of that in Cinderella's route at the very least, if not in others. So I have a little bit of an advantage on Eureka, but still. Girl, I thought you said you were paying attention. My goodness.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Show me what I want to see. Tell me what I want to hear. I couldn't focus. I was too irritated. Damn it! I flung my book in the direction of the door. What's wrong? It's rare to see you lose your cool. Ryoshi's voice seemed to echo, like a hallucination.
Is he even there?
Huntsman.
Okay, thank goodness. I'm like, please tell me you're here.
I looked up to find his icy blue eyes narrowed in my direction. Normally I liked his eyes, but right now I didn't want to feel them boring into me. Because his eyes always reminded me of her. I yelled at her. Oh yeah. Now she definitely hates my guts. She thinks I'm an asshole. How did she react? She asked me why I was mad. Were you actually mad at her? I don't know. But my life is over. She met my mom and came to my house. Before I knew it, I was venting to Ryoshi. Why? Surely I knew better than anyone that there was no changing the past. What's wrong with that? You wanted her to learn about you eventually, right? Isn't this what you wanted? No, I didn't want her to find out. Be honest. You wouldn't approach her in such a roundabout fashion unless you wanted her to. You're wrong. You've been waiting for a princess to come and rescue you, right? No! Now I had shouted at Ryoshi just like I'd shouted at her. I regretted it a split second later. I don't want anybody to rescue me. I don't care. I'm perfectly happy with the way things are. Honest. Frills, lace, and ribbons. A big castle. A pretty dress. A mother who loved me. A hunter who looked after me. And then there's me, the prince. So what if all of it was fake? The days I spent with my loved ones were calm and peaceful, like a still lake. No pain or misery to be found. But now those same waters were unruly and tempestuous. Well then, what do you care if she hates you? Your life was just fine before she showed up. Remember what that was like? It wasn't that long ago. So just forget about her. He had a point. If I missed my old life, I could go back to it at any time by simply avoiding her. But it was too late now. You don't want to, is that it? No, I don't. My former friend smiled sadly.
Is Ryoshi dead in this world? What happened? What's going on? I don't understand. But at least I do know this is kind of a fake world he's created.
Then I guess you know what you need to do, huh? Yeah. Thanks, Huntsman.
And Ryoshi turned into a bunch of cherry blossoms and flew away into the wind. Or apple blossoms, I guess would be more appropriate. The next morning, I was busy setting up the cafe.
Morning, Poppet. I see you're up bright and early today.
Good morning, Kaguya. I got a lot of rest yesterday, so today I'm playing catch-up. I answered as I mopped the floor.
There's nothing to catch up to, really. So, is there anything I can help with?
Nah, I've got it under control. No point in making someone else do it for me.
Right you are. I'll take out the rubbish. You don't mind that, surely?
He shot me a wink. Thanks. Somehow he can always read me like a book. Say, Kaguya. I called out to him as he was changing the garbage bags. How do you feel about yourself?
Huh?
He tilted his head, confused. I should have led up to my question a little better. You see, Snow White, my Prince Charming, he hates himself.
Oh, I see. And since I'm most likely to hate myself as well, you want to get my thoughts.
See what I mean? He's as sharp as a knife. Ha ha ha. I really wish you had picked a different phrase to describe that. I don't think you hate yourself. You just kind of remind me of him, so I wanted to ask you about it. Specifically, he really hates anyone commenting on his appearance. It's weird, because he's so pure and beautiful, like snow.
Well, I've not met him, so it's hard to say, but... in short, I reckon he's got no self-confidence.
You think so?
Not to make any assumptions, mind you, but if you think about it, people can hate themselves for the smallest reasons, yeah? Like, if you were compared to someone better, or if someone made a nasty comment. Even little harmless observations can do it. The one who said it may not have meant anything by it, but you might still carry it with you for the rest of your life. But then again, there could be a lot more to it than I simply have no way of knowing about, innit?
Right. I could think of two people that might have inspired his self-hatred. His mother, or his old friend. At the very least, it couldn't have been me, since I'd only just met him. Another question. Would it bother you if someone mistook you for a woman?
Well, yeah, I reckon so.
Right. Putting myself in Snow White's shoes, I could see myself getting kinda upset if someone thought I was a guy. No wonder he seemed to hate feminine words like cute or pretty. I must have really touched a sore spot. I couldn't remember every single thing I'd ever said to him, but chances were high I'd inadvertently used some of the words he didn't like. After all, I didn't see it as an insult whatsoever. Oh, she's gonna have to start calling him Snow White instead of Prince. Oh, girl, you gotta figure it out.
Try as you might, you can't change the past. It's not a video game. You can't hit the reset button and start over.
You too, Kaguya. Et tu, Kaguya. What is happening? We are like so close to breaking through this fourth wall, it's not even funny. It's like transparent now at this point, basically.
And there's no wizard here to grant your wish. If you truly regret your mistake, then the best thing you can do is avoid repeating it, yeah?
That's pretty solid advice.
It is, isn't it? Did I sound like you just then?
You sure did. Thanks, Kaguya. We exchanged a high five. Nice. After that, Kaguya went back to taking out the trash and I resumed cleaning. There, all done. Once the floor was waxed and the shelves were dusted, we were ready to open. Now for the kitchen. But just as I turned...
Wait, what?
I heard Kaguya's confused voice and hurried to find him. What's wrong, Kaguya? I found him staring into the fridge, confused. I walked over and he stepped out of my way so I could see.
Well, I had a look in the fridge just now to see what could be thrown out, and it seems there's an awful lot of leftovers.
You're right. Now that he had pointed it out, it was clear that the fridge was much fuller than it normally was. Yet we hadn't ordered any extra ingredients. Kaguya and I exchanged a glance. We're losing customers?
Interesting. What does that mean?
No amount of agonizing could stop the flow of time. Who could possibly hope to stop the sun from setting? And so... there we were at the lake, but neither of us had spoken a word to each other. It was so unbelievably awkward. We weren't really fighting per se, but I had no clue how to start a conversation with him. Hey, We spoke up at the same time. Oh, you go first!
You go first.
Then it happened again. Another suffocating silence, but right as I was trying to think of a way to break it.
I'm sorry about yesterday.
He let out a sigh.
I shouldn't have yelled at you. It wasn't your fault.
Oh, no, it's fine. It didn't bother me. I waved my hands dismissively. But of course, just because it didn't bother me didn't mean it didn't bother him.
I understand if you hate me now.
He looked away sadly. I could never hate you. The next thing I knew, I was shouting. My prince looked at me in alarm, but I kept going anyway. Everyone has bad days sometimes. I don't blame you for getting frustrated and wanting to vent. So no, I'm not going to stop being your friend over it. But despite my firm declaration, he frowned at me anxiously.
You sure?
Super sure. I leaned forward and peered into his eyes. I could see my reflection, tinged lilac. But I knew that if he looked into my eyes, he'd know I wasn't lying. The eyes are the windows to the soul, as they say. He blinked at me. In response, I pulled back slightly. Anyway, I'm sorry too. I made some thoughtless comments without taking your feelings into account.
What are you talking about?
I said a lot of stuff without realizing it would hurt you.
What, like you're cute?
Yeah. I smiled awkwardly. Sure enough, he could see right through me.
I don't really care that much.
You sure?
Super sure.
This time the roles were reversed. Silence fell for the fourth time, but this one wasn't suffocating, just mildly awkward. Well, can we be friends again?
Yeah.
He nodded, and I smiled like the weight of the world had been lifted from my shoulders.
What's so funny?
Nothing. Honestly, I was scared you wouldn't show up tonight. But you did, and that really means a lot to me.
I mean, I said I would, so...
Right. It's always good to keep your word. So I'm going to keep mine too. He shot me a dubious look. No surprise there. After all, he had yet to realize what I meant. I filled my lungs with chilly lake air and slowly exhaled. Then I looked directly into his eyes. Prince, I don't know your life story. I still barely know you. I don't know what you're thinking or what secrets you hold. But I do know this. I love you. And because I love you, I want to know you. I want you to tell me what's on your mind, what you're looking for.
What I'm looking for.
He tilted his head slightly. In a way, the gesture reminded me of his mother. Yes, tell me everything. He hesitated for a moment.
I'm not a prince.
Huh?
I'm not the Prince Charming you think I am.
If he's not your Prince Charming, then what is he? He's Snow White. Was this his roundabout way of asking me to call him by name? Okay, then. Snow White? When I called his name, his pale face flushed pink right before my eyes.
Ever since I met you, my life's been thrown off track. It wasn't supposed to be like this. So, you owe me.
Aw, he's blushing. So cute. I owe you? He closed his eyes in contemplation for a moment, then looked back at me, his purple irises shining.
Let's play a game.
What? It was so sudden, it took me a moment to process it.
I said, let's play a game. I'll give you a riddle, and I want you to solve it.
Oh no, is this where I get into bad endings town? A riddle? Will you play Snow White's game? Yep. Here we go, everybody. I smirked. Bring it on. I'll show you I can win any game you throw at me. But if I do, then you have to do whatever I ask. Deal?
Deal.
At my challenge, he grinned. 10 brothers? Okay.
Once upon a time, there were 10 brothers. As the head of the household, the brothers all obeyed your command. Each had their own unique disposition. Some were nicer than others, but they each took on the nature the head of household had chosen for them.
Swallowing hard, I waited for his next words. But they never came. Wait, what? Is that the whole riddle? Meanwhile, Snow White smiled faintly.
Huh. Well, good luck.
What? What? You can't... What's the... am I identifying who the 10 are? Am I identifying what nature I've given each of them? Like, there's the 7 main guys. Then there's Ryoshi. And also, I don't know if you can hear that. There's some kind of weird noise coming from the game my husband's playing. But anyway, yeah, then there's Ryoshi, and there's Wolf. That's 9. But then who would be the 10th one? I just don't know. I'm perplexed.
Mirror, mirror on the wall. Show me what I want to see. Tell me what I want to hear. That night, I was in such a good mood I didn't bother trying to hide it. As I read the crossword puzzle book Ryoshi had given me, I thought back over our exchange and smiled to myself. It's just like they say, a weeping child soon smiles. Well, maybe that doesn't exactly apply here. Anyway, you look happy. Do I? I tried to play it off, but I couldn't keep the glee out of my voice. I take it things are going well with her. Yeah, I guess. I'm having her solve a riddle. A riddle, eh? You sure seem to love that stuff. Ryoshi smiled like he was reminiscing about the past. She's a worthy rival, just as I thought. I smirked knowingly. Unlike me, you mean? Yeah, unlike you. At this, he fell silent. I looked up from my book and into his eyes. His hair and eyes were both pale in color. Indeed, his appearance was nothing like the average person's. Just like hers. So yeah, I'm confident she'll be able to solve it. Even you've improved since last time, right, Huntsman? Yeah, probably. All because of you. You single-handedly doomed me to this miserable job. Your job as a hunter? Yeah. That sucks. Don't act like you don't care. I don't. I never do. Trapped inside this house, I had no way of caring about anyone outside it. Just myself. But I could learn things secondhand. Through books, of course. Books showed me other people's knowledge, opinions, and fantasies. Books expanded my worldview. I let out a small sigh. Lately, I'd inadvertently remembered my old forgotten story, and as a result, it suddenly started to progress rapidly. I summoned my powers of deduction. Why did she show up in my life out of nowhere? And why did it trigger a domino effect that altered my whole world? Just as I had presented her with a riddle, she had given me one in turn. You know, Huntsman, she's not like you or my mother. I thought she was weird right from the moment we first met. Mirror, mirror on the wall, show me what I want to see. Tell me what I want to hear. Gemstone eyes. Soft, fluffy hair. Yes, I always yearned to one day meet a princess. As it turned out, the one I met was tall and slender. After I met her, we got to talking. And eventually I realized she's special.